Now, just by here is my beloved Mark IV Golf Estate 1.8T, and behind me here is my recently purchased, cheapest, highest mileage that I could find on the internet, Audi TT Mark 1. Now that also has got 1.8 turbo, 20 valve engine, and I haven't actually been able to drive it properly yet because I've made a fundamental error. I've broken it before I've even really had a good chance to drive it, and it's a nightmare really. It's the one mistake that you don't do on a car. I can't believe it. Welcome back to Break It Till You Make It. This is my beloved Mark IV Golf Estate 1.8 turbo, and it's awesome. I bought a Volkswagen Beetle, classic Volkswagen Beetle, the cheapest of its kind on the internet. I'm holding the wheel. I don't think I've ever bought an insane wagon.
This is epic.
As close as I've got to where I would love to buy one, they've got further away.
Yeah. I can even fit inside fairly easily. Oh my god. So parked behind me is this beauty that I picked up recently. It's 23 years old. It's a Mark 1 Audi TT with the 1.8 turbo APK engine in the front. And I mean, for 700 quid, you can't really get much better than that. Now, it has got 205,000 miles on it, which does mean there are a few teething problems, and well, I'm going to see to a few of those today. So you're probably thinking, what do you mean by catastrophic failure? What have you done to make this car undrivable? Why don't you want to drive it? What's happened? Well, it all lies behind this stick with the orange handle on it. And there we are. You might be able to see that I have completely, if the camera focuses, overfilled the oil reservoir. So let me explain what actually happened. It's not as simple as just overfilling the oil, because there are a few weird things that happened with the oil light and maybe the oil pressure sensor at the same time. So basically, I drove it home successfully from about 2 hours away. When I picked the car up, I dipped the car and it was slightly low on oil, so I went to go and get oil, and I put about 1.5 litres, 2 litres in, which was about right for where the level was shown on the stick. Then I got home, I drove it around for probably about 20 minutes, then the oil light came on and it was orange. Now, generally on all cars, orange light is not as catastrophic as red light, basically. So the orange light came on, I thought, right, I need to fill up with oil. So I bought some oil, I poured more oil in, and at that point, I had, unbeknown to me, overfilled it by mistake, like an idiot. Strike against me, and it is what it is. Then, after that, the red oil light came on. I'd been driving around for another day, possibly. The red oil light came on, which is catastrophic. So I thought, right, that's not good. I pulled over immediately, thinking, oh my god, has a head gasket gone? Bearing in mind this car is on 205,000 miles nearly, so it probably hasn't had a service very recently. I've got no service history. As I said in the previous video, if you haven't watched that, then you can click on the pop-up banner above me now. So then, after I pulled over, I let the car cool down for a little bit, dipped the oil, and it was very, very full. So I thought, well, that's a bit strange. Maybe the oil pressure sensor is faulty, which would have been fairly good news in this situation. Now, that is still a possibility, but I think what's happened, from doing a bit of reading, I think that the oil has been filled up to a point where the crank is picking up the oil and is foaming, in which case the oil pickup is struggling to pick up any oil. So it's effectively, the engine's been running with not very much lubrication because the oil hasn't been picked up by the pickup tube to take it around the engine. So that's what I'm going to do today, figure out what's actually going on. I'm just going to crack on and see how far I get. Hopefully I find some good news. So to get access to the drain plug, the oil drain plug and the sump, I'm going to whack the car up onto these ramps, which actually jack up. Once they're on the top of the ramp, they jack up even higher, so you can get really good clearance underneath the car, as I'll demonstrate in just a moment. Slowly. There we are then, we've got it on the ramps. I don't think I'm going to jack up the tyres because then the car will be even less flat, and ideally I'd need it on a flat ramp to drain all the oil because there'll be a little bit of oil in the sump that will collect. Anyway, I'm going to go and get my brand new shiny Halford's professional socket set, and then I can crack open the sump plug and see how brown the oil actually is. And well, we can kind of gauge when the last oil change was on this badge. Got the toolbox, the socket set open, ready. Now, I've just had a look underneath here, and it's not amazing. Let me show you that, which is a bit. The main thing is this under tray is kind of covered in oil. That is not good. Anyway, onwards and hopefully upwards. There we are, finally you've got the under tray off and I can see the underneath of the engine now. I did say I was hoping for good news. It's not great, but I wasn't anticipating great news, to be honest. Now you can see the state of the under tray there, absolutely soaked in oil. Now one thing that you don't want to find when you take off your under tray is loose bolts that have just seem to be fallen off the engine and landed on the under tray. There's that bolt there, which was just there when I took the under tray off, and also I looked behind me and that had fallen through one of the holes onto the gravel. So I don't know what that bolt is. It looks quite in good nick, and it looks like it had some sort of Loctite on it, which makes me think it's kind of important. Now also, if I show you up here, you can see that, well, everywhere is just covered, it's just caked. Everywhere is just caked in oil. It's disgusting and a little bit worrying. That's very fresh. Ugh. Right then, so I've just loosened the oil filler cap and I've pulled out the dipstick slightly so that there's no airlock, so that the oil will come freely out. I've just got a few sockets. Yes, 19mm. Hey, there we go. There we are, there's the stream of oil. It's quite black. There's not much light here, but it looks okay. Doesn't look too bad. Now you can probably see that's still dripping slightly. It's nearly done emptying. The bucket's about half full. I'm not going to bother waiting for that to empty out completely, because what I plan to do is I'm going to fill this back up with oil now to the right level, and then in a few days time I'm going to re-flush it again, empty it again of oil, and then at that stage I'll be able to take the oil pan off. There's a little trick that you can poke sort of holes, bigger holes, through a sort of metal bit in the oil pan, apparently, that makes the oil pickup be able to pick up the oil better. Now, I might be talking rubbish, but when I take off the oil pan, I'll be able to see that in a few days' time. So for now, I'm going to screw the sump plug back in and then top it up with oil. Now, by filling it up with oil now, without changing anything else, I'll be able to see if it is in fact the oil light that's faulty, or was it the fact that I'd overfilled it that was causing the oil light to be on. Right then, so I'm going to go and clean my hands. My hands are absolutely filthy. I've had a quick look at the oil and it doesn't seem too gritty. It's fine for sort of what I'd expect. I'm going to push the car back off the ramps now and then fill it up with oil. Right then, she's off the ramp. I've got a bottle of 5 litre bottle of 5W40 fully synthetic okay oil, so I'm going to fill her up with that. As it's a flush, it doesn't really matter that it's a bit cheapy oil. And now the tricky bit is actually getting it in the fuel filler neck, so bear with. There we are, so I've just filled it up with 4.8 quarts, which is roughly translates to about 4.5 litres. I need to clean up any spillage and I'll check the dipstick to see how bang on I am. So this is not what I was expecting the next clip of the video to be, but well, here we are. I'm in a car park full of some amazing cars. I have got here, well, obviously I've got here, I'm in the Audi. You're going to be wanting to know about the oil. Now, I emptied the oil, refilled it as you saw, and well, it seemed to be okay. Then I drove it around for a bit again, the oil light came on, so I think I've come to the conclusion that it is just a dodgy oil light. Anyway, you don't want to listen to me ramble on when there's noises like that. I don't know whether that will have come across on camera, but I'm going to get out. I've kind of limped the Audi very gently because I don't really want to blow up the engine before I've even had a proper chance to drive it. I'm going to get out and we'll end the video by having a look at some of these awesome, incredible cars. Let's go. There's even a McLaren GT has turned up. And just by there is the most amazing Audi Quattro. It's insane. It's awesome. Here we are then, is the Audi Quattro. It just reminds me of like classic Ashes to Ashes, where Gene Hunt's the like classic sort of 80s cop show theme. It was in 2006 I think it was made, but they used one of these cars in that show. Just such an awesome, there's so much history and heritage and everything that's, well, it's the Audi Quattro, which obviously then has been transferred into the TT Quattro system.
One eternity later.
Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And for now, well, I'm just going to turn the camera around. Let's have a look.